Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
Guys, I'm just gonna say it. In this day and age, we gotta let the ladies lead the way. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in light but in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that you do, because quite frankly, you're listening right now. If you do, if you are, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. And we're on Letterboxd for all sorts of fun updates. And you know what, finally, and I say this a lot, but it's the most important, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large, because, you know, if we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please, pay us a visit. Well, on this episode, we got a fun one. We are talking Mafia Mamma, starring Toni Collette, which may still be playing in select theaters now, but it is also available on Premium on-demand video rental. And it's the story of an American mom, played by Toni Collette, who inherits her grandfather's mafia empire in Italy. Guided by the firm's consigliere, played deftly by Monica Bellucci, she hilariously defies everyone's expectations as the new head of the family business. This movie, it's over the top, it's a little goofy, but it's a hell of a lot of fun. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with the director of the film, one and only Catherine Hardwicke, to talk about the origins of the story and working on the project, and so very much more. But like I said, Mafia Mamma may still be playing in select theaters, but it is definitely available on via Premium video on demand rental. So if you're in the mood for a laugh, I do recommend you go check it out. But first, enjoy our talk with Catherine, because between you and me, it's a darn good one. All right. Well, obviously, first off, Catherine, just thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, thank you for your time. I appreciate it too.
No, I mean, first off, congrats on the movie, man. I thought it was an absolute hoot. I mean, just walk me through the origin of having this script sort of come across your desk.
Well, you know, since I've worked with Toni before on Miss You Already with Drew Barrymore in London, we had a super fun time on that show. So when she sent this script to me, I'm like, are you kidding? I start reading it, reading it on my iPad, and I'm imagining Toni playing this part, and I'm just thinking about her expressions, and I'm just laughing out loud, at certain points. And then it's going to be shot in Italy. Okay, how could I say no to that? Plus, we need to laugh. We need to laugh now. We've had some tough years in the world, and just to have a fun romp, which actually has another level underneath it, which, of course, you see this woman kind of, coming into her own and, subverting the male gaze. So it had that layer, but not in a preachy way.
Well, no, I mean, I think that was the big thing for me, because, I mean, when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, everyone's playing it straight. Everyone's sort of really owning the situation. Like, obviously, in films of a similar ilk, we, even when she's sort of getting into a fight and killing people, we would see sort of a wink and a nod to the camera. But no, everything was completely done straight up. I mean, how important was it for you to sort of not just have the subtext, but sort of honor sort of the situation that Toni's character was in?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, this character really, we did play it like she really is going through this crazy stuff. She is this people pleaser. She's always taking care of everybody else. And suddenly she thought she's going to go on a rom-com and just have like a romantic adventure in Italy. And it turns out she's getting shot at. She's attempted to be killed, right and left, which is what made it look so crazy fun.
Now, I mean, talk to me a little bit about getting Monica to read for this, because obviously she plays off Toni so well, and it's such a perfect mirror as as this duo sort of goes on this adventure.
Yes. I mean, even when I read it and I read the character of Bianca, I'd met Monica before. So I was hoping that Monica would say yes. And then you never know. She doesn't do that much comedy, you know, but it is a very elegant and refined part. And when she read it, she loved it. She jumped on the phone with Toni and I. She goes, I want to do it, man. It sounds great. And Monica has a beautiful attitude that I was pretty surprised about. She was game for anything. She actually wanted to be as crazy as we could push it. She did not want to hold back. You know, she jumps on top of Toni in that scene. I'm like, go.
Well, I mean, I've got to imagine, obviously shooting in Italy is a bit of a dream, but I mean, when you're doing something like this, how do you sort of, as the director, obviously try to keep the team sort of pointed in the same direction? Because I mean, I can imagine on one end, you know, there's a little bit of, oh my God, we're in Italy, and you can sort of get that wanderlust, but at the same time, you've got a job to do.
Yeah, well, we had, you know, a pretty tight schedule. It wasn't a giant budget or anything. So we had to be focused. I'm very focused. You try to do it in a fun way. Focus, people, you know, whatever we have to do, we're in action mode. We're shooting, guys. And, you know, you're right. We can't be wandering over and having another gelato. You know, you're in that beautiful little town, Bracciano, and there's beautiful little gelato places. But you know, we got to have gelato on screen, so that's pretty cool.
I really appreciated sort of the subtle nods to, I guess, cinema's past when it comes to sort of mafia movies. I mean, even the little sly Godfather jokes that they weren't over the top; they were just sort of inserted in there. How important was it for you to have the comedy be broad, but also be a little subtle at the same time?
Right. I mean, there's certain nods to the Godfather that you wouldn't necessarily, you don't have to pick up, but the oranges, you know, oranges are a theme in the
Exactly.
Godfather.
Yeah,
We have that. We don't do it in the same way, but it's still kind of there and sneaks in. You know, at the end, there's a nice homage to the Godfather. But hopefully you'll enjoy it, even if you're like Toni and you have not seen the Godfather, you'll still have fun. You know.
Uh, obviously, like you mentioned, you had worked with Toni before. Like, is it nice to have that kind of second hand to be able to get back into something with an actor you've already worked with before?
It's so nice because, you know, now you have if you have a friendship with the person, it's not so scary in a way for a director. You don't want to mess up an actor's process if they have a certain way they want to work, but you also want to help them get to that character and fit in the big picture. So just the fact that Toni and I are already friends, you know, that just made it easy. And she's very positive and very open and very yes and I mean she's also definitive. If she feels something isn't right, she will tell you, you know, but then we'll figure out, okay, how can we make it better in another way.
For sure. For sure. No, I mean, just speaking for you, because I mean, obviously, like as a fan of your previous films, I've always admired how you've never kind of been pigeonholed into a genre. You've not been afraid to do a comedy or do a vampire movie or do a this or do a that. How big, like when you're looking at stuff, when you're looking at your next project, like what are the big things that jump out at you? Like, is it just material and character, or is there a sort of more than that?
Well, I hope that I'm going to find something that is going to challenge me, that's going to tell a story that I haven't seen before. It's not super repetitive of a world that we've already seen. And I really love stories, of course, that are about a complicated woman or women. This has a lot of great female friendships in there. Her two ride or die friends, well, her ride or die friend Jenny, her lawyer, is willing to even come over there. Even she's still got her back when she's, you know, killed somebody. That's okay. We'll get you out of it. You know, everything. I love that little relationship. I love how it develops between Monica and Toni. So those were fun things to explore. And in any case, if there's something that can stretch me or just interesting thematic, you know, thematically something that I want to say, or just super challenging like Twilight, I thought, how could I ever really create that ecstatic feeling that the book did, that people are just in ecstasy over this, you know, it's a euphoric feeling of being in love for the first time. And I wanted to see if I could create that on film too.
So there's no overwhelming desire for a Catherine Hardwicke film to be made in space or anything like that.
Oh no, I want to do something in space. Oh, I've done some really cool lookbooks. I like sci-fi a lot, and I like things in the future where you can really world build and be very creative. I'm ready to go to space. Yes.
I'm ready for you to do that too, absolutely. But I mean, especially just with this film, like I think, like you said at the beginning, it's not preachy. It's not. There isn't sort of these sort of hit you over the head with a sledgehammer overtones. It's trying to be natural. It's trying to be fun. At the end of the day, for you as a storyteller, how important is it for you to sort of be telling something that feels not just entertaining but relatable at the same time? Like if you're on like kind of a mission or trying to make sort of a political statement, you can sometimes people can lose focus of the story, and I never got the sense of that, especially with this film.
Right. And I did feel like there were certain moments like that collective frustration that somebody could have, that we physicalized it in the Zoom sequence, for example. If somebody's not listening to your voice and literally putting you on mute,
Yeah.
and you're being like emotionally and physically assaulted, I thought that's kind of interesting. Like, how much will that build up until you become physical? And then I really wanted to like physicalize that, and give you like a little catharsis right then in a pretty outrageous way, you know.
Well, and the comedy is very physical in this film as well. Like, did everyone sort of dive into sort of that element and really sort of embrace the physicality of the comedy?
Yeah, I think we've got action, you've got a lot of movement. And, I personally, I mean, I like some movies probably that people are standing still talking, but I also appreciate that there's action related to, verbal. I like the connection between the two, intention and action. So I thought that was fun that everybody went for it. And, Toni's a very good physical comedian. I mean, she can fall down on a suitcase. She can, run down a set of stairs. She's quite hilarious.
No, I mean, I've got to ask because it's one of the best lines of the movie. But I mean, the second somebody said "eat, pray, fuck," I just was on the floor laughing. It's so simple, but it's so genius. Like, walk me through sort of that moment of delivering it for the first time.
Okay, so that is an incredible actress, Sophia Nomvet. She's a British actress, and this is her first movie ever, and her first TV series is Lord of the Rings. She's the elf queen, the dwarf queen in there. So like, she's done a lot of stage work, but the way she delivers that line is just hysterical, and everything about her, she just comes in with so much energy and so much passion that I really love Sophie. Hilarious. And at the punching bag too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm curious because I mean, obviously, a lot of people know you from your feature work, but you've never been afraid to do television as well. Like, is there a preference for you, or is it just a question of, like I said before, maybe just when it comes down to material?
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm working on a Hulu series, Under the Bridge. I did the Guillermo project, Cabinet of Curiosities. This Is Us. There's so many. If there's something fun and meaty and something I can learn or challenge or that is fascinating, I love to do it. And of course, what's so great right now with series, you can dive deeper into characters
Mm.
than you could do in an hour and a half or 2 hour film. So some stories just need that time to really live with that character, to see that other perspective, that other point of view. So I love both.
All right, now just to put a bow on this is a silly question, but it's one I always like to ask. Can you think back to your younger days? Was there like one movie that you saw that where the light bulb went off for you and made you want to be like, okay, I want to be a storyteller. I want to be a filmmaker.
So I grew up in South Texas, a very small town right on the Mexican border. Cinema was, I've never even heard the word cinema growing up. We had like one theater, it would have like a few Sergio Leone movies or whatever. So I liked those movies. I mean, I thought it was amazing. They looked like where I grew up too, the Western, the
For
spaghetti
sure.
Western. It's kind of fun. And then, I saw things like Raiders of the Lost Ark. wow, that's imagine. Finally, it dawned on me, somebody had to make that big rock or that cave, you know. And I was already like studying architecture and thought that would be fun to have to make things like that. And then I started to see some indie film. The first time I ever saw an indie film would be like, what would be like Angelo, My Love, that Robert Duvall did, where he took a real kid, a real gypsy kid in New York, and he made a story around him and used the real kid and his real family. That blew my mind. And in a way, I realized I did the same thing with Nikki Reed in 13.
Yeah.
That was she had a real story that was fascinating to me, all the pressures of society and everything on a young girl. And I took the real person and wrote the script with her, 13-year-old, and made the story around her. So I think that was in a way the light bulb moment of like an indie film. You could really dive deep into a person's life, Yeah.
Well, you know what, Catherine, just keep up the good work, and thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this, and congratulations on Mafia Mamma. Again, it's a hoot. I loved it.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yay.
All right. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.